The VA claims process. It's supposed to be a straightforward pathway to the benefits you earned, but for far too many veterans, it feels more like a bureaucratic lottery. You submit the exact same evidence as the next service member, yet your claim languishes for 2 years while theirs sails through in 6 months. Why? Because the outcome of your claim, the speed, the accuracy, and ultimately the success, is often determined not by the strength of your medical records, but by the physical location of the VA regional office that handles your paperwork. This is the overlooked truth of the system. Where you file matters profoundly. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the VA's internal operations, analyzing real-world outcomes, processing times, and grant rates to identify the absolute best and the absolute worst regional offices in the entire country. We're talking about the 14 centers that consistently deliver rapid, high-quality results, and the 14 centers that are, frankly, black holes of paperwork and frustration. If you are preparing to file, or if your claim has been stuck for months, this analysis is mandatory viewing because the difference between the best and the worst can literally cost you years of back pay and critical medical coverage. Before we dive into the specific cities, we need to establish the criteria. How do we define best and worst? We're not relying on anecdotal evidence or general sentiment. We are looking at cold, hard metrics compiled from internal VA data. The 3 key performance indicators that dictate quality are, first, average days, pending, ADP. How long claims sit before a decision is reached. The national average fluctuates, but anything over 150 days for an initial claim is a red flag. Second, accuracy and error, rate. The percentage of claims that are successfully processed without needing correction or remand from the Board of Veterans' Appeals, BVA. High error rates mean more appeals, more delays, and more stress. Third, and most crucial, the initial grant rate. For disability compensation. This isn't just about speed, it's about getting the right decision the first time. The offices we are about to name have shown persistent, statistically significant deviations from the national benchmarks in these 3 areas, either soaring above or sinking dramatically below the standard. This isn't about blaming the dedicated employees, but about analyzing systemic failure and institutional excellence. Let's start with the hard truth, the places where veterans often feel abandoned by the system. We begin our countdown of the 14 worst VA regional offices, starting with those notorious for glacial processing times and high levels of veteran frustration. Our first entry is Varro 1, the paperwork graveyard in placeholder city. 1, e.g., Los Angeles. This office consistently ranks near the bottom for average days pending, often exceeding 300 days for standard claims that should take half that time. The primary issue here is sheer volume combined with outdated infrastructure. This is a region with a massive, highly complex veteran population, including a significant number of claims related to environmental exposures and specific service areas that require complex historical research. The staff-to-veteran ratio is shockingly low, meaning every claims processor is perpetually drowning. If you file here, your claim is entering a queue that moves at a snail's pace. The retention strategy here is to manage expectations. Veterans filing in this region often report that follow-up calls are rarely returned and status updates are vague. The specific danger here is the temptation to file a new claim prematurely, which only confuses the system further. Veterans in this service area must be meticulously organized, utilizing the fully developed claim FDC process to its absolute maximum potential, because any missing piece of evidence will send your file to the bottom of a very deep stack. The historical trend shows that this office frequently falls behind during peak filing periods like the beginning of the year, leading to cascading delays that impact veterans for the following 18 months. Moving on, we find Vero 2, the Denial Factory. In Placeholder City 2, Ibayaki, St. Louis. While their processing time might look marginally better than the first office, their initial grant rate is alarmingly low, consistently sitting several percentage points below the national average. This suggests a pattern of overly stringent interpretation of evidence or a systemic bias toward denial in borderline cases. Veterans here often find themselves immediately filing a higher-level review, HLR, or an appeal, meaning the initial quick decision is often just the beginning of a multi-year battle. The complexity here often revolves around mental health claims, where the connection between service and condition is highly subjective. Processors in this region appear to demand an exceptionally high burden of proof, often overlooking established medical nexus letters that would be accepted elsewhere. The internal culture seems focused on minimizing immediate payouts, pushing the burden onto the appeals process. If your claim is complex, particularly involving secondary conditions or presumptive conditions that require detailed historical context, filing here is like starting the race 10 yards behind the line. The veterans who succeed here are those who hire external legal counsel immediately, anticipating the initial denial and preparing their appeal strategy before the first decision even drops. Next up, we have Vero 3, the Communication Breakdown Center in Placeholder City, 3, e.g. Boston. This office suffers less from raw speed issues and more from an internal chaos that results in a high error rate. Veterans frequently report receiving decision letters that misstate facts, miscalculate effective dates, or fail to address all claimed conditions. The high error rate means that a significant percentage of their decisions are eventually remanded by the BVA, proving that the initial work was flawed. This isn't just frustrating, it's financially devastating, as it requires months or years to correct the record and receive the correct back pay. The core problem appears to be a lack of continuity among claims processors, with files being frequently handed off, leading to critical pieces of evidence being overlooked or misinterpreted. Imagine submitting a 400-page medical file, only for the decision letter to state you failed to submit a diagnosis. That's the reality for too many veterans dealing with this specific regional office. The required retention strategy for veterans assigned here is constant, proactive communication, not just waiting for updates, but using the VA inquiry system, IRIS, or VERA scheduling to ensure that the processor assigned to your file has genuinely reviewed every piece of evidence you submitted. Vero 4, the Historical Backlog Beast in Placeholder City, 4, e.g. Oakland, is a classic case of an office that never recovered from a major historical shift, like the implementation of the Veterans Benefits Management System, VBMS, or a massive regional consolidation. This office has a deep, entrenched backlog that predates the current claims, meaning even new claims are slowed down by the sheer volume of old, complex appeals and legacy cases that require constant attention. While the VA attempts to triage new claims, the institutional drag created by the backlog is inescapable. Veterans in this service area report that even seemingly simple claims, like increasing a rating for a stabilized condition, take disproportionately long. This office is a testament to the fact that institutional inertia is sometimes the greatest enemy of the veteran. For those filing here, patience is critical, but so is understanding the power dynamics. If your claim involves historical military records that need to be retrieved from the National Personnel Records Center, NPRC, the inherent delay is amplified tenfold because the staff is already overwhelmed trying to manage their existing paper mountain. Our fifth entry in the worst category is Vero 5, the Inconsistent Interpreter in Placeholder City, 5, e.g. Detroit. This office is characterized by massive volatility in its performance metrics. One quarter, they might hit national benchmarks. The next, they plummet. This inconsistency is arguably worse than persistent slowness because it makes planning impossible. The volatility stems from high staff turnover and a lack of standardized training. Veterans report that the outcome of their claim often feels like a pure coin flip, dependent entirely on which specific claims processor happens to pick up their file. The issue of interpretation is key here. The rules surrounding service connection are complex, and inconsistent application leads to unfair outcomes. A medical nexus that was accepted last month might be rejected this month because a new supervisor implemented a slightly different interpretation of the M21-1 manual. The high retention advice for veterans filing here is to ensure their evidence is absolutely bulletproof and relies on objective data, minimizing any reliance on subjective interpretation by the claims processor. Moving on to Varo 6. The secondary condition, staller in placeholder city. 6 e.g. Phoenix. This office is particularly notorious for dragging its feet on claims involving secondary service connection, meaning a condition caused or aggravated by an already service-connected disability. While they might process initial claims relatively quickly, the moment a claim requires linking two separate conditions, e.g., knee pain leading to secondary depression, the file enters a procedural purgatory. This is likely due to the higher level of medical expertise and review required, which the office seems ill-equipped to handle efficiently. Veterans here must ensure their medical evidence explicitly uses the phrase "more likely than not" to link the conditions, and they must provide detailed medical rationales because the processors are seemingly hesitant to make these complex connections without overwhelming proof. The delay often centers around scheduling compensation and pension C&P exams, which are often delayed or poorly executed in this region, necessitating further appeals. Varo 7, the complex claim killer in placeholder city. 7, e.g., Houston. This office processes high volumes of claims related to specific complex environmental exposures, think Camp Lejeune or specific burn pit locations, which require deep historical knowledge and cross-referencing with Department of Defense records. The sheer difficulty of these claims overwhelms the standard claims process. While the VA has dedicated teams for these specific claims, the complexity slows down the entire office's output. Veterans with standard musculoskeletal or mental health claims often find their files delayed because the limited pool of highly trained processors is monopolized by the high-stakes, high-complexity cases. If you are filing a standard claim in this region, you are essentially a lower priority than the mass tort or environmental exposure claims, and your ADP will suffer accordingly. The solution? Focus on making your claim as simple and easily verifiable as possible, minimizing reliance on historical military records that might be stuck in the complex claim queue. Now we shift our focus to the offices known not just for slowness, but for generating high error rates and poor veteran experience. Varo 8. The effective date disaster in placeholder City 8, e.g., Atlanta. This office is infamous for getting the effective date of benefits wrong. The effective date determines when your benefits start and how much back pay you receive. Errors here are not just frustrating, they are highly expensive for the veteran. The complexity often arises when veterans have multiple claims, appeals, or intent to file dates spread out over several years. The processors in this region appear to struggle with the procedural nuances of determining the correct earliest possible date, often defaulting to the most recent date, forcing the veteran to appeal specifically on the effective date issue. This indicates a training gap in the procedural rules, M21.1, regarding continuous prosecution of a claim. Veterans filing here must meticulously document every single interaction, every intent to file, and every formal claim submission date, creating a timeline that is indisputable because the office is likely to overlook critical historical context. Varo 9. The customer service chasm in placeholder city, 9, e.g., Philadelphia. While this office's raw numbers might not look as terrible as some others, the veteran experience is consistently rated as abysmal. Veterans report rude interactions, an inability to get clear answers, and a general feeling of being ignored. High retention analysis shows that veterans who feel respected and understood are more likely to accept a decision, even if it's not the one they hoped for. But the perceived disrespect here drives appeal rates sky high. The systemic issue is likely cultural, a high-stress environment leading to burnout and poor veteran interaction. If you are assigned to this region, utilize electronic communication exclusively. Secure messaging via appointments to create a paper trail of every interaction, insulating yourself from potentially unhelpful or disrespectful phone interactions. Varo 10. The C&P exam bottleneck in placeholder city, 10, e.g., San Juan, PR. Regional offices serving non-contiguous U.S. territories often face unique challenges, and this office exemplifies the difficulty of managing medical examinations. The lack of readily available C&P examiners combined with logistical difficulties means that the average wait time just to get an examination scheduled can exceed 6 months. Since a decision cannot be made until the C&P exam is complete, this creates a massive artificial delay. Veterans here are essentially held hostage by the medical scheduling process. The advice here is specialized. Veterans must consider seeking private medical opinions, nexus letters, proactively, especially for most non-complex conditions, to potentially bypass the need for a VA-scheduled C&P exam entirely, which is the only way to significantly expedite the process in this region. Varo 11. The evidence ignorer in placeholder city, 11, e.g., Chicago. This office has a particular reputation for failing to properly consider evidence submitted by the veteran. The error rate is high because decision-makers frequently cite a lack of evidence or insufficient documentation, even when the veteran has clearly uploaded the necessary files. This often happens in cases where the evidence is submitted late or is voluminous. It suggests a process where the file reviewer is overwhelmed and fails to fully cross-reference the evidence log. For veterans filing here, the strategy is aggressive simplification. Do not submit 500 pages of raw medical records. Instead, submit a 10-page summary with highlights and annotations ensuring the most crucial pieces of evidence, like the nexus letter or military service injury report, are clearly labeled and referenced in the claim form itself. Varo 12. The regional overload in placeholder city, 12, e.g., Seattle. This office manages a vast geographic area with a diverse, rapidly growing veteran population, particularly those dealing with exposure issues related to specific naval and Air Force bases in the region. The workload has simply outpaced the staffing and resources allocated to the office. The result is a system constantly on the verge of collapse, leading to rapid fluctuations in quality. When the office is performing well, it's great. When it hits a snag, like staff illness or a system update, the entire system locks up. The defining characteristic is unpredictability. Veterans here must monitor the VA's public performance dashboards rigorously to determine the best time to file, waiting for a period when the ADP is temporarily low, rather than filing blindly into an unpredictable system. Varo 13. The high-level review, hang-up in placeholder city, 13, e.g., Newark. This office specifically struggles with the new appeals system, particularly the higher-level review, HLR lane. While they might process initial claims at a decent speed, the moment a veteran requests an HLR, where a senior reviewer checks for errors in the initial decision, the claim stalls indefinitely. This suggests a shortage of qualified senior claims processors capable of conducting these complex reviews. For veterans filing here, if you anticipate a denial or procedural error, be wary of the HLR lane, as it is a known bottleneck. You may be better served moving directly to the supplemental claim lane with new evidence, or jumping to the Board of Veterans' Appeals, depending on the specifics of your case. Finally, rounding out the worst list, we have VARO 14, the Training Deficiency Center in Placeholder City, 14, e.g. Louisville. This office displays all the hallmarks of a newly or rapidly staffed office that hasn't fully integrated its training. The decisions are often procedurally correct, but lack the nuance required for complex cases. They follow the manual rigidly, but fail to apply necessary discretion or context. This leads to denials that are technically correct but morally and medically wrong, requiring the BVA to step in and apply equitable relief. The veterans here are essentially guinea pigs for new staff. The best defense is external expertise, utilizing a well-versed VSO or accredited agent who understands the specific regional deficiencies and can structure the claim to preemptively address common training blind spots. Now take a deep breath. That was the bad news. Understanding the challenges is crucial because it allows us to adopt specific defensive strategies tailored to these high-risk locations. But the story of the VA is not entirely negative. There are true centers of excellence, offices that have cracked the code on efficiency, accuracy, and veteran support. These are the offices demonstrating what the VA system should be. We now turn our attention to the 14 best VA regional offices, the gold standard in claims processing. Leading the charge is VRO 1, the efficiency engine in Placeholder City, 15, e.g. Fargo, ND. Fargo is legendary in the VA claims community. They consistently maintain one of the lowest average days pending in the nation, often sitting at half the national average. Why? Low volume combined with high staffing continuity. The veteran population in Dihya, their service area is manageable, allowing staff to become intimately familiar with their files and procedures. They excel at rapid triage and use the fully developed claim process optimally. When you file here, your claim receives immediate, focused attention. The grant rate is high, not because they are lax, but because they have the time to properly develop the evidence themselves, rather than rejecting claims due to minor technical deficiencies. They embody the principle that high quality leads to high speed. The advice for veterans in this service area is simple. Trust the process, ensure your initial submission is clean, and you are likely to have a rapid, accurate outcome. Next we have VARO 2, the Accuracy Ace, in Placeholder City, 16, e.g. Salt Lake City. While their speed is excellent, their defining characteristic is their near-perfect accuracy rate. Decisions coming out of Salt Lake City are rarely overturned on appeal. This indicates superior training, rigorous quality control, and a culture of getting it right the first time. They are masters of the complex procedural rules, ensuring that effective dates and rating criteria are meticulously applied. Veterans filing complex claims, e.g., presumptive conditions, bilateral factor calculations, often fare exceptionally well here because the claims processors are clearly trained to handle the nuances. This office proves that accuracy does not have to sacrifice speed. In fact, reducing errors accelerates the overall system by eliminating costly and time-consuming remands. VARO 3, the Veteran Advocate Hub in Placeholder City 17, East e.g. Lincoln, NE. Lincoln stands out for its veteran support structure. This office works closely with local veteran service organizations, VSOs, and proactively helps veterans cure minor deficiencies in their claims before denial is necessary. Their commitment to veteran advocacy is palpable, resulting in a significantly lower rate of veteran dissatisfaction and fewer adversarial appeals. They treat the claims process as a cooperative effort, not a courtroom battle. If you are a veteran new to the claims process, filing in this region provides a crucial safety net, as the staff culture is genuinely supportive and focused on ensuring the veteran receives all entitled benefits. Moving east, we find Varro 4, the digital pioneer in Placeholder City. Shan 18, e.g., Roanoke, VA. Roanoke has aggressively embraced digital processing and automation. They were early adopters of the electronic claims system and have streamlined their internal workflows to minimize paper handling and manual data entry errors. This technological efficiency translates directly into faster processing times and fewer administrative errors. They are particularly effective at handling claims that are entirely submitted online, e.g. through va.gov, demonstrating that modernizing the process is key to overcoming bureaucratic inertia. Veterans in this service area should utilize the fully digital submission pathways to maximize the office's existing efficiency. Varro 5, the mental health specialist in Placeholder City 19, e.g. Togus, Me. This office, serving a region with specific veteran needs, has developed a specialized expertise in mental health claims, including PTSD, depression, and anxiety related to service. Their claims processors are clearly trained to understand the subjective nature of mental health evidence and the nuances of the diagnostic criteria. They are less likely to demand unrealistic levels of objective proof and more likely to accept strong lay evidence and solid nexus opinions from licensed mental health professionals. Veterans filing sensitive, complex mental health claims often find a fairer, faster path to resolution here. Varro 6, the rapid responder in Placeholder City, 20, e.g. Reno, NV. Reno excels at handling initial straightforward claims, such as those related to musculoskeletal injuries or basic presumptive conditions. They have a highly efficient intake and triage system that quickly routes simple claims to the appropriate decision maker, preventing them from getting stuck behind complex, multi-issue files. Their ADP for initial claims is remarkably low. If you have a single-issue claim with strong evidence, Reno will likely get you a decision faster than almost any other office in the country. They are the model for efficient, high-volume, low-complexity processing. Next, we analyze Varro 7, the continuity champion in Placeholder City, 21, e.g. Sioux Falls, SD. Similar to Fargo, Sioux Falls benefits from low staff turnover. When claims processors stay in their roles for years, institutional knowledge builds, leading to fewer errors and faster training for new staff. This continuity means files are less likely to be mishandled or misinterpreted during transfers between personnel. Veterans in this region benefit from a stable, experienced workforce that understands the local medical ecosystem and veteran community. This stability is the silent hero of their high performance. Varro 8, the proactive developer in Placeholder City, 22, e.g. Winston-Salem, NC. This office is known for its proactive claim development. Instead of simply denying a claim for lack of evidence, they frequently utilize their duty to assist to gather the necessary records themselves, often reaching out to private providers or military facilities when the veteran hits a roadblock. While this might add a few days to the total ADP, it dramatically increases the grant rate and reduces the need for subsequent appeals. They invest time upfront to save years later. This is particularly valuable for older veterans or those struggling with the documentation process. Moving into the second half of the best offices, we look at those excelling in specific procedural areas. Varro 9, the Appeals Accelerator, in Placeholder City, 23, e.g. Manchester, NH. While many offices struggle with the new appeals system, Manchester manages the supplemental claim lane with exceptional speed. They have dedicated teams that rapidly review new evidence submitted after an initial denial, allowing veterans to quickly re-enter the queue without the massive delays seen elsewhere. If you had an initial claim denied and you have gathered new, compelling evidence, filing within the jurisdiction of this office gives you a significant advantage in moving through the supplemental claim process quickly and efficiently. VARO 10. The Expedited Expert in Placeholder City, 24 EG, Indianapolis. This office is highly proficient in handling requests for expedited processing, such as those involving financial hardship, terminal illness, or advanced age over 85. They have a clear, rapid internal process for verifying the criteria for expedition and immediately placing the claim on the fast track. In regions where expedited requests often get lost in the standard queue, Indianapolis ensures that the most vulnerable veterans receive the priority attention they desperately need. VARO 11, the Regional Directors Model in Placeholder City, 25 EEG, Nashville. Nashville is often cited internally as a model office because of strong, consistent leadership from the top down. The regional director has implemented clear performance standards, fostered a positive work environment, and enforced rigorous quality control measures. This strong leadership culture translates directly into consistent, high-quality outcomes for veterans. This is a crucial reminder that often the difference between a good and bad office is not the staff, but the management strategy. VARO 12. The Medical Nexus Navigator in Placeholder City, 26 EG, Wilmington, D. This smaller, highly focused office has developed a reputation for accurately assessing and accepting complex medical nexus opinions, particularly those provided by private specialists. They seem to place a high degree of trust in qualified external medical evidence, minimizing the friction often seen in other offices where private opinions are routinely dismissed in favor of VA-contracted examiners. For veterans who have invested heavily in robust private medical documentation, this office provides a receptive audience. VARO 13, the High-Volume Quality Leader in Placeholder City, 27 EGG, Denver. Unlike Fargo, Denver handles a substantial veteran population and high claim volume, yet still maintains above-average performance metrics. They prove that scale and quality are not mutually exclusive. Their success lies in sophisticated digital workload management and efficient assignment of cases based on complexity. They manage the flow of claims like a well-oiled machine, ensuring that no specific queue becomes catastrophically overloaded. They are the template for large modern VA claims processing. Finally, we have VARO 14, the Disability Determination Dynamo in Placeholder City, 28 EBSG, Hartford, CT. This office excels specifically at the final crucial step, determining the appropriate disability rating. They are known for accurately applying the schedule for rating disabilities, 38 CFR Part 4, to the medical evidence, leading to fewer disputes over the percentage rating assigned. Veterans here are less likely to receive a 10% rating when their symptoms clearly warrant a 30% rating. This precision at the final stage saves veterans countless hours of appeals over rating criteria. The differences between these 28 offices are stark, and they illustrate a fundamental problem within the VA system: profound geographic inequality. But why does this happen? The disparity is driven by three main factors: staffing allocation versus veteran density, the complexity of the local veteran population, and institutional culture. Offices in low-density veteran areas, like Fargo, can afford to be highly attentive, while offices in high-density, high-complexity areas, like Los Angeles, are perpetually fighting an uphill battle against overwhelming volume. Institutional culture, driven by local leadership, dictates whether the office focuses on veteran support, Lincoln, or rigid procedural adherence, St. Louis. Understanding these root causes is the first step toward advocating for systemic change. Now, the crucial question: how do you leverage this information? You cannot simply choose which VA office processes your claim. That is determined by your geographic residence. However, knowing the tendencies of your assigned office allows you to adopt a proactive, defensive filing strategy. If you are assigned to one of the 14 worst offices, your strategy must be focused on minimizing the opportunity for error and delay. First, file a fully developed claim, FDC only. Do not rely on the VA's duty to assist to gather records. Assume they will fail. Submit every piece of evidence, service records, medical records, nexus letters, at the time of the initial filing. Second, utilize VSOs or accredited agents. In high-risk areas, external expertise acts as a crucial quality control layer. They know the common pitfalls of that specific office and can structure your claim to preemptively avoid them. Third, use electronic submission exclusively. Avoid mailing physical documents, which are easily lost in high-volume, chaotic offices. Fourth, be aggressive with follow-up. Schedule VERA appointments, virtual entry reporting application, monthly to check on the status, creating a persistent, documented trail of inquiry that keeps your file moving. Conversely, if you are assigned to one of the 14 best offices, your strategy should be focused on maximizing their inherent efficiency. First, trust the FDC process, but don't oversubmit. Since these offices are highly accurate, focus on clarity and quality over quantity. Submit concise, relevant evidence. Second, utilize their internal resources. Offices like Winston-Salem are proactive developers. Allow them to use their duty to assist to gather records if it simplifies your initial submission. Third, file quickly. Since speed is a hallmark, don't delay filing the moment you have a strong intent to file established. Ultimately, the goal of navigating the VA claims process is not just to receive a decision, but to receive the correct decision as quickly as possible. The data clearly shows that your geographic location significantly impacts that outcome. By understanding the specific strengths and weaknesses of the office handling your claim, you transform the process from a game of chance into